What would you do if you were wrongly accused in front of a crowd, simply because of the way you look? Malik, a well-dressed black teenager, faces this harsh truth when a biased security guard wrongly accuses him of stealing at an upscale mall. As tensions rise and the truth comes forward, it leaves us asking, how often do our assumptions push us to act unfairly? And more importantly, what happens when those in control are forced to face their own prejudices? Before we get into this emotional story, let us know in the comments where you are watching or listening from today, and feel free to subscribe for more content like this. The shopping mall in Richmond, Virginia buzzed with life. Its wide halls echoed the rhythm of footsteps from shoppers lost in their own worlds. The shine of store windows reflected designer bags and luxury fashion, casting fleeting images of people as they walked by. Ethan, the mall's night security guard, scanned the scene with a well-practiced eye. He had been on the job for 2 years, but something about tonight felt off. Though he could not quite explain what it was. His radio came alive with a crackle and a familiar voice came through. Sarah, his partner for the shift. All good on your end? Ethan adjusted the radio on his hip and replied, so far so good, just the usual weekend crowd. He scanned the floor and caught sight of a group of teenagers gathered near the entrance of Bon Ami, one of the higher-end stores. There were 4 of them, laughing and talking loudly, a common sight on a Friday night. Among them was Malik, dressed neatly in a sharp navy jacket with fitted jeans and clean sneakers. He stood out from the others who wore casual hoodies and worn sneakers. Ethan's eyes landed on Malik and a spark of suspicion stirred in his chest. There was no true reason, just an instinct, he thought. The group of teens didn't appear to be shopping. They were hanging around, maybe waiting for trouble to find them. His radio crackled again, breaking his thoughts. You see something? Sarah's tone was calm, but with an edge that showed she already knew where his mind had gone. She had worked with Ethan long enough to sense when he was on alert. Maybe, Ethan said, already moving toward the group. Just checking something out. As Ethan came closer, Malik glanced up but quickly turned back to his phone. Unaware of the judgment forming, Ethan slowed his steps, looking over the group carefully. He cleared his throat and spoke firmly. Hey, what are you all doing here? One of the boys wearing a backwards cap shot him an annoyed look. Just hanging out, man. We are not doing anything wrong. Ethan's gaze returned to Malik, the sharpest dressed of the group. His pulse quickened. You, he pointed. What are you doing? Been watching you for a while. Malik raised his head, confusion in his eyes. Waiting for my friends, he said, steady. Why? Ethan's face hardened. Why? Because you don't look like you're waiting. Have you been inside the store? His hand motioned to the glass doors of Bon Ami, but his tone carried accusation. Malik blinked, disbelief spreading across his features. What? No, I haven't. I've just been standing here. The laughter from his friends stopped and they shifted uneasily, now focused on the exchange. Sarah, watching from a distance, felt her stomach tighten. She had seen Ethan do this before, pick out someone without cause, but this time was different. She could see the fear in Malik's eye. You think I'm stealing? Malik asked, his voice edged with disbelief. He glanced toward the store as if trying to understand why he was the one being called out. Ethan took a step forward. You tell me, why don't you empty your pockets? The demand filled the air, heavy and tense. The teens fell silent, all eyes darting between Ethan and Malik. Malik stood taller, his posture firm. No, I didn't take anything. I'm not emptying my pockets. I've done nothing wrong. Ethan's eyes narrowed, anger rising. Empty your pockets, he repeated louder, drawing attention from nearby shoppers. What's going on here? A woman asked from the crowd. Curiosity spread and more people gathered. Sarah saw things spiraling too far. Ethan was losing control. Malik took a deep breath. Listen, man, I'm just here waiting for my friends. I don't want trouble. He reached for his phone, his voice tight. If you keep this up, we are going to have a problem. Ethan smirked. Oh, we already have one. Suddenly he lunged forward and grabbed Malik's arm. Gasps ran through the crowd. I told you to empty your pockets now. Malik pulled back, trying to stay calm. Let go of me. His voice no longer steady. It was sharp, filled with frustration that had built up too long. You have no right. Ethan tightened his grip and chaos broke loose. People raised their phones, recording the scene. Murmurs spread through the growing crowd. Sarah's pulse raced. This was wrong. She couldn't stay silent anymore. She stepped forward, her voice cutting the air. Ethan, that's enough. Ethan turned, surprised. What? You think he's innocent? Sarah swallowed hard, her face pale but firm. I do. You've gone too far. Ethan let go of Malik, his face red with anger and shame. You don't know what you're saying. Malik straightened his jacket, his voice calm but cold. You just made a huge mistake. Ethan opened his mouth but Malik cut him off, speaking louder so all could hear. You want to know who I am? My name is Malik Dawson. He paused, letting it sink in. My father owns this mall, and when he finds out what you just did, you'll be out of a job. Ethan's eyes widened, shock draining his authority. What did you say? You heard me, Malik said. Call your manager now. I want to talk to them. Sarah stepped in quickly. I'll call them, Malik. I'm sorry this happened. I'll make sure it's handled. Ethan stood frozen, his confidence shattered. The crowd whispered, shaking their heads. Malik glared for a moment, then turned to Sarah. Let's get this sorted out, he said quietly, though anger still ran under his voice. As Sarah led Malik away, Ethan stood alone, the weight of his actions pressing down. He had acted on his bias and now would face the fallout. Days later, the mall's management launched a full investigation. The incident had gone viral online, with clips showing Ethan's aggression and Malik's calm resistance. People were outraged, demanding answers from mall leadership. Ethan was suspended during the investigation, but the damage was done. The footage exposed a deeper problem that couldn't be ignored. Sarah became a key witness. She spoke out against Ethan's actions. It wasn't easy for her. She had worked beside him for years, but what he did was wrong and she could not stay quiet. In the end, Ethan was fired. The mall added new training programs for all security focused on ending racial profiling and ensuring fairness. Malik didn't just want Ethan punished. He wanted real change. His persistence paid off. Change was happening. Months passed. The mall grew quieter, though the echoes of that day remained. For Malik, Sarah, and the crowd who had witnessed it, one thing was clear. Justice had been done. Prejudice carried consequences, and the truth always rose. Ethan sat at home that evening, staring blankly at the TV as news of the Richmond Mall incident played again. He groaned, rubbing his face. His phone buzzed with calls from his supervisor, but he ignored them. He already knew his suspension would soon be permanent. The viral footage had spread far beyond Richmond. News outlets, forums, and social media condemned him. People he'd never met picked apart his actions. He shut off the TV, sitting in silence. What had he been thinking? At the time it felt like instinct, just doing his job, but now replaying it, he saw the truth. Malik had done nothing wrong, yet he treated him like a criminal. He knew termination was coming. Meanwhile, Malik sat in his father's office, surrounded by awards and plaques. He had grown up in wealth, but none of it shielded him that day. Not his clothes, not his father's status. He scrolled through his phone, filled with messages after the video, some supportive, others critical. Why hadn't he fought back? Why hadn't he done more? Malik tossed the phone aside. It wasn't that simple. He had tried to keep calm to stop it from getting worse. Still, the humiliation stayed. He could still feel Ethan's grip. His father entered the room, his presence firm. Malik, we need to talk, he said. I just got off the phone with the board. They're taking this very seriously. Ethan will be fired and security practices reviewed. Malik nodded. Good. But it's not just about firing him, Dad. It's about making sure this never happens again. His father's expression softened. I know, but son, you need to understand, sometimes people act in the moment. They make mistakes. Malik frowned. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a choice. His father held his gaze, then nodded slowly. You're right. It was a choice. And that's why we're not letting it slide. Malik's voice grew stronger. I want to be part of the changes. His father raised an eyebrow. Involved how? I don't know yet, but I want to make sure the new rules actually work, that they stop this happening again. His father thought, then nodded. All right, we can do. Sarah sat in the security office the next day, staring at her reflection on a blank screen. The investigation was over, but guilt lingered. She had let Ethan take control for too long. She had joined security to protect people, not to intimidate. Yet over time she had seen how easy it was to let bias guide decisions. Now she questioned herself. A knock came. Malik stood there, calm but with a heavy expression. Hey, you got a minute? Sarah nodded. Of course. Malik sat across from her. Silence filled the room before he spoke. I just wanted to say thanks for speaking up. I know it wasn't easy. Sarah shook her head. No, it wasn't, but it was right. And I'm sorry I didn't act sooner. Malik nodded. Yeah, things got out of hand fast. I never thought that would happen to me, but now I see things differently. Sarah understood. She had been seeing things differently too. Maybe that was the good part. They talked about the mall's new policies and the broader issue of profiling. Malik shared his plan to get more involved in the community. Sarah offered her help. As they parted, Malik felt a small sense of closure, though he knew there was more work ahead. For the first time since the incident, he felt hope. Months later, Richmond Mall was not the same place. New policies were in effect. Security underwent full training on bias awareness. The incident had been a wake-up call. Sarah stayed on the job but changed in her approach. She was more thoughtful now. She had learned protecting people meant treating everyone with fairness. Malik had become an advocate, speaking at schools and community events about his story. His words inspired others to share their own. Ethan disappeared from Richmond, unable to find work. Malik didn't take joy in his downfall, but knew choices had consequences. In the end, justice was served. Not just for Malik, but for everyone ever unfairly judged by their skin. And though the road ahead was long, Malik was ready. He knew change was possible, and the ties that bind us are stronger than the forces that seek to divide.